If you've been looking for support in your business recently, you really enjoy learning from my next entrepreneur who works from home. Her name is Sammy Bohannon, and she is an online business manager. Her business is called Bohannon Virtual Solutions, and she helps online business owners get organized, implement efficient systems, and supports entrepreneurs in scaling their business while achieving their goals with ease and efficiency. Now, I'm Gail Bates, and I want to welcome you to my series where I interview entrepreneurs from home around the globe. I've had over 20 years of experience as a home-based entrepreneur myself. I know firsthand the challenges of staying organized and managing time and avoiding overwhelm in today's fast-paced world. Every entrepreneur that I interview has a unique story to share, and they're all full of insights on productivity, time management, and how they handle things in their life. So if you're eager to learn from those who actually make it happen, entrepreneurs like you, then hit that subscribe button and tap the bell to never miss an episode. You know, Sammy has some really golden nuggets in this interview with special tips for moms who work from home and moms who homeschool and those who actually suffer from ADHD. She shares that with us, and I really think you'll love it. Hey, Sammy, really welcome today. I'm so excited you're here. We haven't had a virtual assistant business talking about that before, so I'm really excited to have you here to learn more about how you handle your business as an entrepreneur working from home. So, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Great. You must be busier than most people on the planet as you're doing a lot of work for other people. But take us through a little bit about your daily routine, how that works for you.
Yeah, well, it really depends on the day. I try to keep a pretty consistent routine, but it never works out. I start the day off trying to set my goals and intentions for the day. So I do try to do that every day. And then from there, it really just depends on what's going on. I have two young kids at home. They're in first and second grade, and I homeschool them. So, it's whatever they need. I like to do a lot of the work in the morning, though. So I will do meetings with clients in the morning. That's when my kids have the lowest energy. So they're not being loud and they're not distracting on the calls. So I try to do my calls in the morning. And I also try to get a lot of client work in the morning so that in the afternoon, I can focus on my business and helping the kids with their schoolwork.
Wow, that is huge. So you're fitting in all the work you need to do for your clients. You're homeschooling your kids. So, you have to probably have a few, in fact, I think I've read where you do have a lot of systems in place, right?
Yeah.
To help you get through the day. Is there any specific system that really works for you that perhaps you use with your clients?
I think there's nothing that I use for me that I also use for my clients necessarily, because everybody has things that work differently for them. I mean, I would recommend some of the same things, but the biggest thing is having a project management system in place so that you know what needs to be done and you can assign yourself deadlines. And we don't, all across the board with me and my clients, we don't use the same project management system typically, but we do use one, and we assign days, and we, just to keep ourselves on track and to keep ourselves accountable, because otherwise it's very easy to get lost.
Right.
And to forget about what you have to do.
Right. Yeah. And is that a specific tool you use? Is it like Asana or?
Personally, I use ClickUp. I like ClickUp better than Asana, but I use Asana for a lot of my clients. It is not as complicated, I think, and it's a lot more user-friendly. And that's why a lot of my clients like it. There's not as much going on with it as with ClickUp. So it's easier to figure out, and it's easier to do what you want to do in Asana. So I do recommend Asana, especially for business owners who aren't super techy.
Right.
But I personally use ClickUp, and that's just because I like that I can connect my documents to it and that it does some more automations and things like that.
Right. Well, that's good advice. That's good advice for people who are watching that what really works best, especially coming from somebody who works in those project management tools a lot. I'm sure you're in them every day, every few minutes, probably.
Yes, I am.
So, how do you set up with your workspace? I mean, have you got a dedicated workspace for your business? And how do you homeschool your kids? Do they have a special place? How does that work for you?
Yeah, we have a pretty small house, so we have to make do with what space we have. We moved in July, and I had a large desk and a nice little space, and then we moved into a smaller house. And I got rid of my big desk and I bought a standing desk, and it's fairly small. And that I have that in the hallway that I use for my area. And it's kind of off from where the kids play and where the kids work, so that if I need to do a meeting or if I need to really focus, they can do their thing and I can do my thing. And then the kids really work at the kitchen table, which is in the dining room. We've set up the dining room as a little schoolroom. So sometimes I will work in there with them while they're doing their schoolwork so that I can help them if they get stuck. But they do a lot of their work online. And
so you do a lot of your work at the standing desk?
Yes, I do.
Oh, wow. And how does that work out? I know that a lot of people love them.
Yeah, it's very helpful. Personally, I have ADHD, so I'm constantly moving. Yeah. And just being able to stand and work really helps keep me focused, because it keeps my brain off of other things because I'm able to move more than if I were sitting.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. I love that. And then do you have any time management tricks that you use that would help other entrepreneurs?
In all honesty, I have some tricks that work for some people. Personally, they don't work for me. So I will tell you what I suggest to clients, and then I'll tell you what I do. So I do suggest, and it works for people who do not have ADHD. I suggest time blocking. That is my biggest suggestion, and I have tried it. And when my kids are with grandma or when they're somewhere else, it actually works really well for me. But when my kids are here, now all that can go out the window. But as far as that goes, basically you just chunk off your time. So what I was doing is I will take on my calendar, and I still do this some, and I just don't stick to it, but I will chunk off my calendar that I'm going to spend this much time working for this client. I'm going to spend this much time working on myself on Monday. And then I'm going to do on Tuesday, this much time for this client, this much time for this client. I have a call in here, and basically just mapping out what I'm going to do. And be very specific about it. It's one thing to say, I'm going to work on the business instead of working for clients. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to say, I'm going to write my emails for the week. I'm going to create my social media posts for the week. So definitely you want to be very specific. Now, I do that for myself, but I don't stick to it because I have two little friends who are constantly, Mom, I need a snack. Mom, I need a drink. Mom, can we go outside? So my other thing is just be very flexible with it, My kids also sick a lot. We got to go to the doctor, He's very flexible with it.
But you're right. And I think this is sound advice, is being very specific about what you want to do in that specific time period, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just working on your business. It is, doing emails or social media content or whatever it is. You're actually being very specific about what you're going to get done. And I'm sure that maybe with your project management as well, that you had that written in there as well on what to do as well, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it blends together. And then, the kids walk in and the whole world's thrown upside down, right? But that's okay. That's why we work from home, isn't it?
Exactly.
Biggest reasons why we work from home, so that we can be flexible with our family and with our life, right? And that's what I love about it. So tell me a little bit about how are you at setting goals, and how do you approach goal setting for yourself, basically?
Yeah, so I am very big on setting goals. I was a teacher before I was a virtual assistant. And so, it's always about making sure that you're growing and getting where you want to be. Personally, I have a paper planner that I use to plan my daily goals and my monthly and my weekly goals. But I also put those into my project management system so that I can mark down the milestones and have that in there, because I'm looking at my project management system daily. So I can say, oh, look, that's coming up this week. Am I on track to reach that goal? So I do keep up with them a couple different ways. I think goals are very important, and if you don't have a goal, you're not gonna meet it. So you have to set goals.
Right. Yeah. It's an important part of being in business as an entrepreneur, I think. Yes. And having a process set up for yourself. I like the way that you said you have milestones, because I'm very big on milestones myself. When you hit those milestones, you're on your way to achieving that goal, basically. Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so what kind of challenges do you face as an entrepreneur working from home? What kind of your biggest challenges?
Well, I think my biggest challenge is very similar to many other people's biggest challenge, and it's just finding the time to fit everything into one day. Especially, I do struggle with ADHD, and my kids, I'll be right in the middle of something. I'll be like, oh, this is going really well. I'm getting stuff done. And then bam, here comes a kid. Mom, can you help me with this? Or Mom, can you help me with that? And then I have to stop and come back. And then, of course, when I come back, I'm dawdling and, unfocused. So I guess that's really the biggest thing for me. And when I talk to other entrepreneurs, that seems to also be the biggest thing, is just, the distractions and staying focused and on task.
Yes. And so do you have any tips that help you do that? Or is it just something you have to face and move forward? What do you recommend?
Well, if you have kids at home, the best thing you can do, here's what I've done, to eliminate some of the distractions. We have pre-filled water bottles for the week, and we have set snacks that they're allowed to have without asking on the table, like fruit and things like that. And we've got some peanut butter crackers. And so that has really helped with the distractions. And then also setting aside time. I like to set a timer and say, we love our Alexa. We use Alexa to her fullest extent. I don't know what we would do without her.
Wow, interesting.
We like to set a timer on the Alexa, and I like to set 20, 30 minutes at a time. And during that 20, 30 minutes, nobody can bother mommy. And we usually play some music. And this is a fun tip. If you have kids, she'll play Disney music. So we play Disney music, and they'll dance and play while the Disney music's going. And when it's up, then they can come ask me questions. That way I have little sprints of time. And if you do not have kids, no worries. You can also just have, setting a timer on your phone. There's timer apps on the internet you can get for free. Setting a timer and doing little sprints at a time. I wouldn't go any longer than 30 minutes because that causes burnout. Yeah. But definitely doing that. Another good thing that works is joining co-working sessions.
Right.
I have found several co-working communities, many of them free, and they're very helpful because it's like being accountable to somebody else and having that other person to keep you going.
Right. Yeah. I love that you use the Alexa for the 30 minutes. That's really cool because the kids are probably waiting to hear her voice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the music goes off, then they know that they can come and ask me questions or whatever they need.
Right. I love it. Okay. Well, I want to switch things up a little bit and talk a little bit about collaborating. You kind of alluded to it with your co-working, but how do you stay connected with the world, the outside world, as a virtual assistant in marketing, all of the things that we do in our business to keep it going, but we have to network and keep it going. What do you do to keep your business going?
Yeah, I do a lot of things. For the past several months, I haven't done a whole lot, so I'm getting back out there. But I am in several groups for co-working. I am also in in a couple of online groups for collabs so that I can meet other entrepreneurs. I've joined several free online networking events. I haven't found anything near me to go to in person that I felt like was worthwhile, but I have been looking. And also, I'm very active on social media. I'm on Instagram half the day or Threads half the day and just hanging out there, marketing the business and getting to know people and making connections.
Right. Yeah. And you have a team, right, that helps you in your business?
It's me and my sister right now. My cousin helps out every once in a while, but really, I'm the main marketer. My sister just does a little bit of client work for me.
Right.
My sister, she does a lot of the VA work, and I do the online business management work.
Right. So that's wonderful. You've got that all worked out. I love it. I know we've talked a little bit about productivity, but do you have any lesser known productivity hacks or techniques that really work well for you? Any specific apps or tools that work well for you that you think might work for others?
Other than the Alexa, which a lot of people seem to not know about, you can set up routines and the Alexa app, and it'll play through your Alexa throughout the house. That is something we use a lot at my house, and not just for business things. I also use that for personal things. So again,
how that works.
Yeah, again, with my ADHD, I really struggle with like time blindness and routines. It's not something, and I was not like this when I was younger, but as I've gotten older and the more responsibilities and more things going on, so I put in routines into my Alexa app. And so I set up a routine if we have not had breakfast by 8:30, I set up a routine. It'll tell me to make breakfast. It'll play music while we're cooking breakfast. Right. Or do whatever you want it to do. You can literally set up anything. Wow. And we do the same thing for our bedtime routine. So my kids get to listen to Disney music and dance while they brush their teeth. And then mom doesn't have to remember to do it. So my biggest thing is definitely use the technology around you. There's little things like that you may not think about. I'm not super familiar with Siri. I don't typically use that, but I'd say Siri has something similar. Yeah, you can set up. But if you're like me and other business owners that I've worked with, you really need to set up things like that to help remind you that you need to do different things, because we've got so much going on. We have so much going on. It's hard to keep track of, and it's completely understandable. And I have so many notifications that the notifications from like ClickUp and Asana don't faze me anymore. So that doesn't remind me. I need someone telling me, hey, you need to get up and walk around for 20 minutes. Like,
I love that. Knowing that, I never would have figured that out. And I'm sure that my audience are going to really love that little
awesome. Yes, that's my biggest tip. Like, use that Alexa or whatever you have in your house that will tell you, hey, take a break, go spend 10 minutes outside.
You've just given me a fabulous idea. I'm going to use that for sure.
Awesome.
Okay, let's switch to professional development, because you're busy. You're homeschooling. You've got a big, a business that you're involved in every minute of the day, probably. But how do you find the time? What do you do to keep your professional development moving forward?
Yeah, I try to stay ahead of things as they come out, but that's not. With all the technology out there that people use, it's not feasible. So what I really do is I talk to my clients and what their goals are for the next 60 days, the next 90 days. And I learn the technology that I need to know in order to make that happen. And I also will research things to see how we can make it better, how we can improve. And that's really where I make the time for professional development. I do use a lot of free resources. So like Asana and ClickUp and even HoneyBook, they have free communities if you pay for the service. So I will use those communities to learn new things that I didn't already know. Mm-hmm. And YouTube is an excellent resource. So
right.
I just try to stay up on what's new. And then, of course, everything will send you emails when they update. And I try not to delete those emails. I actually put it into my project management system to review that email so that new and learn about the changes and how it's going to be different. So I work it into my daily schedule to make sure that I know what's going on with everything that we use. And then I try to once or twice a month go and see what new technologies are out there and what other people are talking about. I pay very close attention on social media to what other business owners are talking about and make sure I understand what's going on.
Yeah. And are there any seminars you attend or workshops that you go to in your field?
There are some, but most of them are things I already know. And there is a program that I'm hoping to join next year that will help me become certified as an OBM. So that is something that I'm interested in. But mostly it's stuff that revolves around the tech that I use, that I participate in. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And so busy lady, how do you take care of you? What's your self-care tricks that you
that, people are like, Sammy, you do it all. That's where I don't do it all. I don't do a very good job of that. Somebody asked the other day, like, why are you guys staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning scrolling your phones? I'm like, well, are you a parent? Because that's the only time it's quiet. So that is currently my self-care. I need to work on that a little bit. I
love that. I mean, it's acknowledging this is part of life that you really must work on. So, maybe when we come back and talk in a year, you can tell me what you've been doing. Okay.
Yes. Somebody asked me what my hobbies were the other day. I said, I'm sleeping. That's what I enjoy right now. Yeah.
Okay. We'll move on to, I always ask this question and you kind of allude a little bit to it, but it's how do you maintain that a healthy work-life balance? What is it that you do? And I know it's impossible. The balance word is not a good word. We're come up with the word harmony more than balance. But how does that work for you? How does that keep you sane, I guess, in working at all that you're doing?
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me is being flexible. And as someone who was very type A in high school and college, and as a teacher, that has been something that I have had to learn to do.
Yeah.
It was my main goal to be able to have my kids home with me. Public school wasn't working for them. They really needed to be home. And as someone who knew what it was like in the public school system, I really wanted my kids home. So I have done everything I can to make that work. And that's minimizing meetings during the days. That is making sure that I can have the mornings with them. I do work a lot of nights. I try to have my meetings with my clients in the morning. That's when everybody is freshest and our ideas are the best. I do a lot of the actual work at night after my husband comes home.
Yeah.
And if it's something that's urgent, I will work through the day. But it's important for me to be able to spend time with my kids.
Yeah.
So I also typically work at least one weekend day a week. And I'm trying to take the other day to be with family so that I also get to spend time with my husband. But what I recommend to everyone else is to make it work for you. And that's a great thing about owning your business and working from home is that you get to decide and you get to do what works for you. So I'll get up when my husband leaves at 6:30 and I will work until about 10. And then I'll take most of the rest of the day off to be with the kids and help them with schoolwork. And we go to the park. And we play with the dogs, we play outside, and then I'll start working again about 3:34, right about when my husband's coming home. And that's what works for us. And all about what works for you. So what works for me may not work for you, and that's perfectly okay.
I think that's great advice. You really have to figure it out. And that's why I asked the question, because everybody's different. And I love what you said. You have to make sure it works for you. Okay, last question before we go into learning more about you and your business. I always ask this question, is there one helpful piece of advice that you would give a fellow entrepreneur working from home? What would it be?
Again, I would just say be flexible because things are constantly changing.
Yeah.
And I know I know people say that a lot, but again, I was a very type A person before. And I did not like change. I did not like flexibility. It took a lot of learning for me. And I feel like that is the same for a lot of business owners, is that you're very organized and you want things to be a certain way, but that's not how it is. One day you do really well and the next day, not so good. So just learn and taking the time to learn from your mistakes.
Yes, that's a really, really great advice. I'm sure people watching this will really take that to heart, because I totally agree with you. Being flexible is huge when you're an entrepreneur working from home. Okay, so as a busy virtual assistant, tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, share with us any free resources that you have, and where people can connect with you.
Yeah, so I do. I myself have actually moved into an OBM role, and that's fairly new. But we do still offer virtual assistants. But
my sister does all. What is an OBM role?
Yes, of course. An OBM is an online business manager. So basically, people who need a little bit more than a virtual assistant who's just doing tasks and who needs their processes created, and almost like a partner who doesn't have a stake in your business is kind of how I like to explain it. But it's somebody who manages everything and makes sure everything's getting done. And so I do a lot of that. I do a lot of setting up processes and setting up automations and setting up systems. We do some email marketing. My sister has an art background, so she does a lot of social media marketing because she's really good at creating the graphics. And we do a little bit of everything, honestly, just a little bit of everything. We are very fast learners, so it's very easy for us to pick up a new technology when a person comes to us and says, hey, can you help me with this?
Right.
We're very tech savvy. Before she worked with me, she worked for a staffing firm, and she worked for them for several years, and she worked remotely, and she worked with Salesforce and so many other things. So between the two of us, we have a lot of experience with online technologies. And then as far as who I work with, my biggest client owns a tutoring business. Because I was an online tutor before I became a virtual assistant and an OBM, I know a lot of people who are tutors, and they do come to me a lot for help because I'm pretty well known in that community. But I've also worked with some local businesses from where I'm from in Kentucky. And I've also worked with some course creators, and I've worked with some copywriters, and there's more, but my brain's not working right now, so I will have to think about it.
Well, we will put all of your links below in the description, okay? People can connect with you. And I think you do have a free lead magnet, right?
Yes.
And what is that about?
It is a list of 56 tasks that you can delegate to a virtual assistant. I noticed as I was going around that a lot of people were like, I need a virtual assistant, but I don't know what they should do.
Right.
So I made a list of things that, we can do. And there are more things that virtual assistants can do, but those are the things that we specialize in, I guess. And it's been very helpful to people. So yes, I do have that list of tasks. And then if you're looking to find us or connect with us, we're pretty much wherever you are. We have a YouTube channel, but it's not great. That needs some work, but mostly we're on Instagram and on Threads.
Okay.
And I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. So
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So we will put all of those links below so that people can connect with you.
Perfect.
Okay, Sammy, I think you're going to be the golden girl for a lot of businesses out there that are looking for somebody who can really help them with a lot of these processes and systems that you and your sister really can work on and help people. I want to thank you so much for being on today, okay?
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, great to talk to you.
You too.
Wow, do you have as much on your plate as Sammy does? Not only does she help her clients with efficiency, she is living it herself amidst her own busy life. I love the fact that she has a standing desk as a command center around her house, and her tips using the app Alexa. Wasn't that fascinating? I never knew that I could set a routine using Alexa. How about you? But a little gem that she shared was when you're time blocking, when she said, to be very specific what you do in that block of time, not just a blanket topic. You really got to zero in on exactly what you're going to do and make it happen in that block of time. I thought that was really, really good advice. And did those words resonate with you? If you don't have a goal, you're not going to meet it. Well, that's my question for you today, okay? What is your goal that you want to achieve by the end of 2024? I want you to write it in the comments below. And remember, if you don't have a goal, you're not going to meet it. So I hope you enjoyed this interview and get ready for more upcoming interviews coming your way in this series. So don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.